What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and today I am joined by a man who did very well, surprised a lot of people in 2022 at that Arnold Classic and at the Boston Pro, and he's coming into the Mr Olympia as one of the dark horses, one guy that people are saying that could upset a whole bunch of people in that top 10 at the Mr Olympia. I am pleased to welcome Samson Dauda back onto Desktop Bodybuilding. Man, it's good to have you back on, and it's good to have you back on in a situation where you are in a great situation.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back. It's been a while, isn't it? You know, but yeah, definitely good to be back, man.
It's been ages. And dude, I can sense your energy levels. Like you're at a point where you're suffering, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, we knew that this was always going to be the case, you know, especially doing your first Olympia. You just can't leave that into chance. So, you know, Milos has pushed me to the edge and back, and yeah, it's definitely what I'm looking forward to go behind me. That's for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, with the Arnold Classic, obviously so close to the Olympia, like, have you even put any thought into that? Because that's not too far.
Oh yeah, I've already put a thought. I've already applied for it. So, you know, for me, I'm like, you know what, hell, because it would be nice to repeat basically this year, the way this year has gone, you know, do the Arnold Classic early in the year, have a few months in between to sort of make progress and then compete again towards the end of the year. So hopefully, you know, we get the invite and we'll be able to sort of repeat that, you know, but definitely I want to do the Arnold.
Yeah. Now, this is something I should definitely ask before the interview, but how long do you have, just so I know what to get into with you?
Well, I got enough time, man. No problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, man.
Nah,
Because
that's
obviously,
that's
being
fine.
so close. But dude, like, obviously it's been a roller coaster for you, your career so far. You know,
yeah.
Obviously I was, been talking to you and stuff through a lot of those moments, and I feel like I've almost ridden that roller coaster with you. And the tough times, I'm like, oh, I'm so bummed out for Samson.
Yeah,
he's stuck in a hotel in COVID in this country, or all this stuff going on, man. And you pushed through, and I feel like you seem like what you just said then about doing the Olympia. And then, oh yeah, I've already applied for the Arnold, which is however many weeks later. You're going to be going almost straight into another prep. Your mindset seems so much stronger than it previously has been. Is that because you went through all that crap with the COVID and the missing contest after contest and all that?
When you've been through things like that, honestly, you know, as hard as prep is and everything else, you know what? I remember, like, obviously being in that situation where you were suffering through a prep, but at the same time, you didn't know if the show was going to happen or not. You know, and you're going show after show, being counseled all year, and you just carry on prepping and keeping your mind strong all through it. When you've been through something like that, it's very hard for you to now go through a prep and go, well, you know, I don't know, I can't be bothered, or I'm too tired or whatever. Yeah, you get tired and you get hungry, you get all that. But in terms of like your certification for, okay, I want to do a show, once you decide, it's like, okay, it's all go. You know, there's no hesitation. There's no, oh, well, I'll see how I feel, or I'll decide close to the time. You just think, you know what, I'm going to do this show. That's it. I'm doing it. You know, so that sort of certainty of, okay, because I've been doing Arnold earlier this year, I absolutely loved it. And I said, I'll be back next year. So for me, it's just a case of the certainty, regardless of how I'm feeling right now. If I'm tired and I feel like I'm tired of this prep, it feels like it's gone on too long and I'm exhausted and I'm feeling, I just can't wait to chill out, relax, get some food. But I know as soon as the show is over, give me 2 weeks, I'm gagging to get back to work again. So I know that's always what happens. So I can say, yeah, I'm going to do the Arnold. Regardless of how I feel right now, I know I can say I can do the Arnold and I will do it, you know. So yeah, you have that. I think you just lost your sound there.
Oh, sorry, dude. I accidentally muted it. I was just saying, in terms of motivation, like, are you more of a self-motivated guy? Are you a guy that will listen to motivational stuff like David Goggins, or like, what do you do to actually stay motivated?
For years, for me, I've always listened to guys like Les Brown and Eric Thomas and guys that I've always listened to all their books and everything. It helped me through a lot of hard times in the past, and now it's almost like what they sort of I was holding on to them all the time. You know, you struggle today because you know tomorrow's will be better and everything else. And it feels like I've been through that, and I've been, you know, I'm not better tomorrow. So I've seen that happen. I've seen what can come from hard work and grafting and not giving up. And when you've seen that, you've kind of gone through that process time and time again, it does strengthen you. And now you're kind of in the point where I'm like, look, I was built for this. I love this. You know, I enjoy this. So yeah, I still listen to them today, and I still hold on to them, especially when I know that I'm feeling, you know, my nerves are going, and I'm feeling nervous, and I'm feeling like, okay, I'm in doubt. I'll still put them on just to focus my mind and everything else, and say, okay, right, come on now, get your shit together, let's get to work. You know.
And just listening to that, that sounds like that's going to be something that's clipped up and put on a motivational, one of those motivational videos for sure. Because I actually heard Fuad, you know, who obviously sponsors you of Hostile.
Yeah.
I heard him say once that, you know, oh, you should make those videos where you're talking about all that motivational stuff, you know, year round. And he said you can only pull it out when you're in this part of the prep, when you're in those those stages, you know.
Yeah, because when you're feeling good and you're feeling great and everything is awesome, it's very hard for you to focus like that. You know, you need to be in that dark space. You need to be in the hard times, and you need to sort of feel that and go, okay, right. And then that's when those things really, where it really calls for you to pick yourself up and go again and again and push, keep pushing. You know, that's the moment where you truly feel like, okay, you know what? That's when the inspiration and the idea of it, you know, it's one thing. This is why I always feel like it's one thing to talk about, yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes when you're in a good, comfortable place. It's always easy to say, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do whatever days. I'm going to do whatever. Then the time comes and they say, okay, here we go. Now show if you really want this. And then you see people fold. So I think, you know, when you know that you really mean I'm going to do whatever it takes, and they go, okay, right, you're going to prep for a show. You don't know if the show is going to happen. You're going to be doing this for the next 5-6 months straight. And you're like, yeah, you really want to do this? Well, here, show us. And to be able to push through that anyway, you know, when you've been, it changes your mindset. It really does, you know, and you become a different character when you come out the other side and you really think, man, okay, hell, if I could do that, what else can't I do?
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Brian Nasser as well, who put in the super chat, says top 5 at the Olympia.
Thanks,
and obviously at this year's Olympia, that would be an achievement, because the top 11, top 12, top 15,
you know what is insane. It is absolutely insane, because like I could remember like for years, like when I started bodybuilding in 2014, and for years I just said, you know what, man, my dream is to go to the Olympia. Yeah, if I could just, you know, go to the Olympia, that would be it. As soon as I get there, I'll be like, yeah, I've did it. I'm at the Olympia. That's my dream achieved. So obviously this year, where we then obviously got a qualification, we're going in there. I remember after the Arnold, I mean, the Arnold was already felt like a bonus, and I was like, oh my God, I just did the Arnold. And I felt like, you know what, from this point, I'm just like, you know what, it doesn't matter now. I'm just going to go to Olympia and enjoy it. Yes, I'm going to train my heart off and bring my best, but regardless of what happens, I'm just going to enjoy the experience of it. So you start prepping, and then, you know, the hype and everything comes in. And Milos, he's like, yeah, I want you in first call out. I want you. I'm like, dude, I just want to enjoy this experience, man. Why did you like? And then, you know, the thing is, when they put that in your head, all of a sudden, you now rise to it. And you're, okay, all right, fuck it, let's work. And you start working with that mindset, you know. And they say, oh, it's lack of self-belief. No, it's not that. I want to just enjoy the first Olympia first. But then when, you know, people start saying, look, I think you can do this, I think you can do that. I'm like, really? Okay, maybe if I really, really go for it and give everything I got, let's see what will happen, you know. And then all of a sudden it goes from, okay, I just want to be there and say I'm happy I've done it, to I want to do well at it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we actually just discussed you on the podcast as well, and we discussed, you know, like the improvements you've made to your physique, the level of roundness and everything. Like, well, it's on another level to when, you know, we used to talk and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
like you've gone next level. And the conditioning, like you're a guy that seems like as soon as you hit the shot, like when you pull your elbows back, like you see that detail through the back and whatnot as well. But it's when you're sort of in between and like that, when you're coming back, it looks so much dry that I've seen that in the past. But you still don't have the level of hardness that maybe some guys have in some other body parts. So what do you think that is? Do you think it's just more you just have to suffer more than other guys to get those finer points?
Yeah, I believe like this year, like I said, like this year already, you know, we're having to really suffer and really like we won't go into prep. I said the first point, like right when we start, I wanted to get in shape about 6 weeks out and then just graft slowly, time and time, to get the skin to really thin out, you know. I mean, for me, you know, I wasn't been a thicker skin guy, but for us, we kind of realized that we really need to graft in to really pull those small details out. It needs to really kind of get in condition and shape in time, and then just sit in that position for time and time and time again, so your skin really thin out. So that was basically what we had to do this year, you know, was basically, okay, you've got to your Arnold condition now, okay, Now let's keep pulling and keep pulling and keep pulling and see how much left you can actually, how low can you actually get, you know. So it's just a plan of how we always kind of have to see that it worked for our conditioning.
Can you look at yourself like while you're like in this, like because you are like in the thick of, you know, prepping for your first Mr. Olympia, so much going on. Can you look at videos of yourself at all subjectively, like properly?
Oh, dude, you know what? The thing is, people don't understand that bodybuilders, we are our worst critic. You know, what anybody else could pick out and go, oh, I think he needs this. We've already done this a long time ago. We've banged up on about this time and time and time again. So when someone's saying something and they notice it now, I'm like, look, we already noticed this like a long time ago, and we've already been working on it. So even now, you look at a physique and everybody's like, okay, let's find anything you can find. We've already picked it up. And we've already said, okay, right, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to, because we are literally our worst critic. And even when people go, oh, man, you looked awesome there, we're like, yeah, but I can already see things I want to work on, things I want to improve on, you know. So it's always the case. We always our worst critic, you know. So when you're that just picky with yourself about everything, you're never happy. You're never going to be happy. You're never going to be think that you're shredded enough, you're big enough, you're anything. You're just never going to be in that position where you're ever going to sit there and go, yeah, this is it. Yeah, I'm good now. You just never do. And I mean, bit of his body dysmorphia. The other part is just pure, you know, the insanity of how your mindset is built to do this sport. But you will never be satisfied with whatever you do. You always think, okay, right, how can I be better? So we are our worst critic in that sense.
Absolutely. Bodybuilding, for anyone who hasn't competed, is a complete head game when you're in prep, and especially when you're a couple of weeks out. There is no worse head game, because it's your obviously your food intake and all that sort of stuff almost affects your perception and your reality. Like you just, and you don't know it at the time until you're out of it. And then you look at photos and videos of yourself and you're like, I look damn good. You know, you're like,
you would never see that at a time. Honestly, you just never see that at a time. It's always months later. And when you kind of calm down, that's why I always say, like, even with shows, if shows don't go your way, the last thing you need to do is lash out or say anything at that time, because your mindset isn't right. You know, give it a few months, let it die down, cool down, move away from it, and then go back and look at it and look at the pictures and look at the videos, and then your perception will be changed. Then you look and go, actually, okay, I see this. Because at the time you won't see it. You're so blinded by that moment of being in there and the way your mindset is, you don't see any of that, you know. So this is something like we kind of always made sure that we look at my last performance on stage, and then we literally rip it apart. Okay, what did you do wrong? What could we have done better? What could have changed? What needs to work on? And from that moment on, I say, okay, let's get to work. We need to improve this. We need to improve that. We need to get this better. We need to get that better. And we do it every single show. When we do it, we then move on to the next one with that. And then we break that again for the next one and the next one. And this is what we find that helps us get better each show.
Yeah, because you've been able to do that, man. And it's really impressive to see. I've got a question here. I wanted to ask this because it was a good one. Big T Fit T on YouTube says, Samson, is there anyone you want to stand next to in comparisons? Assuming 2022 Olympia.
Yes, there is. I want to stand next to my man Brandon Curry.
Oh, I like that. I like it.
Yeah.
Standing yourself next to Brandon, because obviously your structure in terms of height and everything like that is going to be your advantage, and I think that's where Brandon can get shown up. You know, I'm not saying that that's what will happen, but man, I love the confidence to say that you want to stand next to him.
I think we had a moment in the Arnold earlier this year where we stood next to him for a split second before we moved around, and that moment, you know, I got cut off stage after prejudging, and even then I didn't know at the time. I just thought, okay, you know what, whatever it is. And you know, people came up to me and they showed me video of it and they go, did you really see that? And I was like, holy shit. And I think for me, it was almost a moment of realization of, okay, how much work we could do to catch him and catch guys like that. And for me, I was like, okay, shit, I see something. I see a glimpse of something there. And I was like, okay, guess what? I'm going to graft my ass off. So the next time that happens is going to be, oh, damn, we didn't expect that.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. That's a cool mentality to have. Are you frozen?
Your mind is.
Well, you might have dropped there for a second. I think you're back now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's just a little bit delayed, but no, it's back now. You've got a few comments here asking a few questions that I want to get to, and I've got a few more of my own, obviously, that I want to get to before we wrap up this interview. You obviously mentioned Brandon Curry and stuff before. Is there anyone else that you think you compare well next to?
I think I can probably bless to a lot of the guys, you know, from Andrew to Blessing to Raphael. I mean, most of these guys I probably stood on stage with already before. But I know that obviously the more shapely guys is something that sort of, you know, I know a lot of people want to see a battle between me standing next to Andrew Jack, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I want to see. I think I'll be excited. I think that's probably one battle that I'll rather be sitting down eating popcorn and watching myself going, oh, this is fun, you know. But there, that one, you know, yeah, I know for some part of me, I know that's gonna happen. You could just feel it coming in the air already. I'm like, yeah, I know that's gonna happen. And honestly, when that moment comes, it'll be very interesting.
Oh, I think we lost you for a second again. Samson is
back.
Yeah, you come back now. Yeah, you're good. I think it's just a little bit of lag where we're just losing you a little bit, but hopefully it holds up a bit more. Okay, so we've got another question from Dave Thomas. Says, have you got a special routine for your first Mr. Olympia Samson? Love the one from the Arnold's, pure class.
Always do. You know, we always plan. I mean, this is my first Olympia, so you know, you got to show something. You know, so definitely always got to plan something. I'll never just walk. Yeah, I'll never show up like this. It's hard, but I think the more or less is the first thing you need to do is almost have an idea of what you're trying to present on that stage, you know. Because I always go, okay, right, in this one, do I want to be more entertaining or do I want to be more classical? Do I want to be slow? It all comes down to, okay, what your perception is. And then when you have that, if you go, okay, right, you want to be more of a hype sort of posing routine, you know, you pick a song to match that and then you pick a routine to sort of poses that follows that. Now, if you want to be more classical, something slower, you pick a more slower tune and you pick poses that match and then you follow that on. So first thing is always like, okay, what would be the best thing to bring to this show? Now, I'll give you a little hint. Because it's the Olympia and it's set over 2 days. So in finals, we know that they're going to rejudge the finals properly. And the first time they're going to see you in the finals is when you come out to do the routine. Now, if you do a little bit more entertaining routine and you're kind of moving quite fast, you get missed. They can miss your condition, you can miss your improvement, you can miss anything there. So you know that is something you need to then slow it down, squeeze every poses intentionally, and really present your best at that routine, because at that point the judges are actually looking to say, okay, right, how much has he improved from the day before? So with that said, you, as much as you want to obviously be a lot more entertaining or whatever and do it, hype the crowd up, you got to put that into perspective of, okay, this is the first time they've seen you that night, so you got to pick a routine to sort of give you the ability to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just getting spam in the comments and I'm just going to block. But yeah, man, it's really cool to see as well. Like, it's almost like a throwback, like seeing your posing routines. It's a throwback to when I just first started getting into it. And even then it wasn't at its peak like it was back in the late 90s, early 90s and all those, even 80s, you know, where they had some great posing routines. And now we get to see a lot of it through the classic physique division. We get to see, you know, when you name the guys at the top of that, man, they're like you know, you got like Auras is a great poser. You've got Samson is pretty good at himself. You've got obviously Terrence Ruff, you know, all these guys are really, really good at posing, which is so cool to see. And I think it's awesome that you're leading the way and with a few others in the open. And it's would you like to see the routines judged again, like Milos keeps saying?
Yeah, I would. I would like to see the routines judged again, because it just bodybuilding is an art form, is a presentation form. Like, when you take away the incentive for guys, even though if you don't judge it a part of the final score, do what they do with Arnold, make it a reward. Okay, so guys then put a little bit more effort into it, especially for those people that pays hundreds to be at the show to watch the top bodybuilders in the world. The last thing you want to do is just see a guy sort of just put on music, come walk up and just most muscular. So I think because of that, you want to make sure that the bodybuilders are actually presenting and actually showing their best, even when it comes to something like routine, because a lot of people are paying to watch this, you know. So I think just for the fans' point of view, giving the bodybuilders a reason for them to really put effort into it will always help. Okay, it doesn't have to be a score that adds on to the main judging score. It doesn't have to be anything, but it could be his own category or his own class or his own reward or whatever. But just give them an incentive to want to work at it,
Yeah.
And I think that will always help the sport in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is as well, like I'll be doing a not a live stream of the actual video from it, but I'll be doing a live thing through it, and I'm going to highlight those routines, man, and really make comment about them and try to make a point out of it, because I want to see guys putting effort into routines again, man, because that's part of a sport that I love. I literally teach posing, here in Australia, and it's something I love doing, and something I feel like it's an art form. And when no one's concentrating on a routine whatsoever, it's all about just the comparisons. That's it.
And that's
almost
it.
Like it's losing that art form.
Yeah, because it's almost like, if that's the case, then why do you still do it? Why do you still have it? If it's almost the point where it's not just a passing sort of phase, like, you almost like the routine comes on and everybody's like, oh, okay, time to check my phone, or let's hurry up and get this pop finished and over and done with. Because they know that, why would they put that much time into watching us when we haven't put that much time into actually presenting our best?
Yeah,
it's like, and you don't blame the fans for thinking, well, this is a bit boring. Why? Because guys are actually doing it, haven't actually put any effort into it. But I think when you start seeing guys that are putting effort, I mean, remember when you watch someone like Kai coming in on stage, the minute he's about, come on, everybody's like, okay, hey, all right, here we go, we got to watch this guy. Because he was going to present something. What was to expect. So imagine you had that with most of the guys coming out. You're going to get a lot more people actually interested in more than just, okay, the body part and everything. They get start actually looking, oh man, how he presents himself in this pose and how he moves from that pose and how seamless he is. That stuff starts making the sport a lot more interesting.
Absolutely, man. And the thing is as well, you mentioned you could just have a prize for it like the Arnold, which I think is better than having nothing. But I just think, and they do actually judge it at the Arnold as well. So one thing I would like too. But the only thing I suppose I don't like is that rewards one person. You know what I mean? Which is probably good for you. In general.
But I think if you kind of do it like the same thing, you do it like a scoring system. Okay, this one adds a point to you, or whoever, depending on where you place in the routine, you get a point added or a point taken away or something like that. I think to just bring a little bit of incentive for the guys to do it, because honestly, you do have shows where you're going into and you're going, well, especially like smaller shows, you think, well, it doesn't account for anything. They're not judging it. It's not going to change the results. So why should I bother? Why should I really go through the effort of doing my music and when I know for what that even the judges themselves don't even watch this routine?
Yeah, but they walk off or do something.
Exactly. So why? So when everybody sort of putting it as a pastime of just okay, it's just something that has to be done, he loses all value, he loses all interest, loses all effort in it. So, but when you actually have time where you actually give guys to make, because bodies, they're not going to do it for nothing. Even though they should, we all know they should put a lot more time into it, but we've always seen how it's deteriorated with time because there's no reason to. When you're tired, you're exhausted, you're going through a prep, you're trying to look your best, and then when you're exhausted, you got to come up with a routine and do all that. It becomes like, oh, well, what's the point of doing it if I'm not going to get judged, if I'm not going to get scored, if I'm not going to get any reward from it? I might as well just wing it. And that's what you end up seeing on stage. And, what do we expect? Of course, you're going to see that on stage. But, bringing something, if you say, okay, right, we are judging routine. All right, we are adding score. All right, there's a chance to win this from it. All of a sudden, you see a lot more guys pay more attention to not just the posing in the routines, but you see that translate onto actual the mandatories as well.
And man, I'd love to see it, like how you mentioned about the, I think if they had it in a judging system where, obviously because of the lower score wins, if you have the best routine, just say it's 50% routine, 50% entertainment / choreography / just what is enjoyable to watch. You know what I mean? So 50-50 on that. And then you give 1 point to the guy who comes first in the routine round, and then down to whoever comes last. If it's 15 guys, then the guy who gets 15th in it gets 15 points. And it's or even you could even break it up and say it's a percentage of a point where it breaks tiebreakers or something. You know what I mean?
Because that will cause guys who cause for us to now say, okay, right, we know we have to take that part. Now we now know that to make up ground or lose ground, you then take it a lot more seriously, So it's the same thing where now I bet you this Olympia, you're going to see the first Olympia where you're going to see every single guy is focusing on keeping their abs as tight as they possibly can. And I can tell you this Olympia now, you ain't going to see no guts hanging out. I can guarantee you that now, because every guys are on it because they know you lose a hell of a lot of points from this Olympia if you don't, So with that said, this is the same idea. When you pull something out and say you start penalizing or judging people on that, the guys, they fix the problem straight away. you know.
Yeah.
So it will be the exactly same thing with routines and posing.
There's some tight midsections in this Mr. Olympia this year too. Like you look at the top 10 and it's much tighter than normal. And
Oh
I
yeah,
love to see it, dude. I
yes.
love to see it.
You know, and this is where it should have been. You know, this is where it should be. You shouldn't be, you know, you can't walk around mountain muscle and then have your gut hanging out at any point and say, "Oh, that's the perfect look. That's bodybuilding." No, it's not acceptable. You know, so when you start holding people to account to it, all of a sudden, whoa, what's this magic happening? Everybody's getting a smaller waist. Well, it was always possible. We just now know that we have to do it. You know, so yeah, it does work that way.
Hopefully we'll see that posing, dude, because obviously it's one of your strengths for sure. And I used to love one guy I used to love, man, Melvin Anthony. I remember being in Australia and he did a routine out here, and I loved posing, you know, obsessed with bodybuilding. I was like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I was going to the Australian Pro, and Melvin Anthony was there. Man, he tore the roof off the whole place. And because obviously we were deprived of stuff down in Australia, man, and no social media much at the time. And it was just like, oh, like everyone, like it's almost like standing ovation. Maybe even if you did get a standing ovation. But
and you see those memories, those things like that, they create memories that last through time. You know, that moment where this guy did that routine, and you know, Vince Taylor did the Terminator routine, or this one did that routine. We all remember that even more than we actually remember how the show went. We're like, I can't remember who on that show, but I remember that routine. Oh my God. Yeah. And this is how what builds that, you know. We remember Kai Green doing Billie Jean routine, but hell, I bet you we don't remember who won that show or who was in the show. But we remember those little things that they really intrigued us. And we might hear that music that he used that routine somewhere else, go, oh, that's the routine, that's the music this guy put. And it gives us flashback into those times, and it still happens now. So, you know, having the idea of, okay, making guys actually, you know, putting a routine together and entertaining the crowd. You know, some people, you know, people bring their spouses and they bring their friends and they bring stuff. They don't into bodybuilding. They just come to, okay, I'm coming with him because he didn't want to come alone. I came with him. And then you come out, okay, yeah, big guys. Yeah, they flex. They moved up and understand they flex. But all of a sudden you see them start posing. And then even people that don't know anything about bodybuilding, to see someone that big, that much muscular, just being able to free flow like that on stage, it's something to behold. It's like, oh, wow. And then you end up making fans from people that literally don't even know why they were there in the first place. And they're going, wow, you know. So this is the thing. Bodybuilding is an art form, but you have to show it like an art form for you to really reach other audiences. If you just show it like a muscular show, there's only so far you go with it.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to get into the Olympia talk a little bit with you, Samson, because obviously it's a huge Olympia. The lineup, we've mentioned it. It's crazy. Where do you see, I mean, do you have a realistic spot picked out in your head? I mean, it's sort of a basic question, but do you have a spot picked out in your head where you would be happy if you placed there? Or is it just all out and just...
Man, I've said it straight from the beginning, right from when I said, look, man, I would love to crack top 10. Especially in this lineup, yeah, I would love to crack the top 10. For me, that if I land in top 10, I'm going home a happy man. I'm like, yep, job done. Okay, I'll see you next year. All right.
Oh, dude.
Honestly, because I know people be like, oh, yeah, but I got you top 5. I got the... I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah. But remember, it's still my first year at the O. It's still my first year, and I always hold that. And the thing is, what the problem with, you know, the hype thing is when you start getting it, let it get to your head, it makes an experience which would have been perfectly acceptable, perfectly nice, and you would have been happy off with it too. Your expectation then goes way beyond what you were going to be happy with. And then you go on stage and say, I was hoping to be top 10. And then I got hyped into the idea of being top 5. Oh my God. Now I fall into 6th place. Your first Olympia, you're 6th. Do you know how insane that is?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it's like, freaking, I'm not top 5. I thought I was going to be top. And you're like, are you kidding me? So this is the thing about having that hype, that it can really drive you off the wall the wrong way, especially when the state of mind that you're in at the show. You know, we're not in our straight. We really need to understand when from this point on to the way bodybuilders, we're not in the right state of mind. We really aren't. You know, we're so focused and so in the painting that we don't see the whole picture. It's months later when it's all, you know, the steam died down, everything, we can look back and go, damn, actually, that was really good. I did really well there. I'm actually proud of that. But at the time, you just so grafted on it that you don't see it. So I know when I was coming into this, when I was a lot more clear-headed, I said, okay, you know what? If I crack top 10 in Olympia, that would be amazing. That would be a godsend. That would be like, wow, my first Olympia top 10. Wow. You know, And I've held on to that all through, regardless of any hype. I'm still holding on to it now because I'm like, yeah, anywhere you fall in top 10 is great, but as long as I'm in the top 10, I'm gonna walk around like, yeah, that's a good Olympia debut. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, man, for sure. And it's almost like the thing with Brett Wilkin, it wasn't so much his doing, it was like coming into that Arnold. Was it this year? Or whatever,
yeah, it was earlier this year. It was earlier this year.
Yeah. And placing sixth in your first Arnold. That's really good.
That's a really, really good. I mean, Lord, that's a really good result.
Yeah.
I mean, people underestimate how hard it is to do something like that, especially your first Arnold, But because the expectation was so much higher than what he could deliver, it almost felt like it was a negative showing. It felt like, I'm like, dude, really? Like, I mean, guys now do their pro debut. Just because they make top 5, they think, oh, they don't make top 5, they just slip in there 5th place. They think, oh, that's not great. I didn't win my first pro debut. Right, so sure. Think about all the thousands of pros in this world that have tried to do this, and they didn't even reach half. They didn't get to make it to Olympia. Think about all the people you can even imagine they didn't make it to Olympia. So when you then turn around the numbers, you say, okay, you know what, shit, I'm blessed to be able to do this.
Oh, dude, well, you think about it, like if I had the genetics to potentially get to the level of being a pro bodybuilder, I would have pushed it a lot harder than I did push myself. But you get to the stage where you go, okay, where am I going to get to? You know what I mean? Like, I might be able to be a men's physique pro at some stage, but that's where I'm happy of sitting, because I know I just won't get to that,
Yeah.
And the guys that actually do try to get to that, there's tons of them that don't even get close still.
They don't get close to that. But the thing is always the idea is like, don't get me wrong, just because you're saying, oh, I'll be happy with top 10, doesn't mean you're not training your ass off to be as high up that top 10 as you can. Because people always say, well, because he's only thinking about top 10, so he's only going to train like he wants to be just top 10. It makes no sense. I'm still going to train as if I want to win the goddamn show, but I'm happy if I land in top 10. So, people can get the misperception of it and think, oh, well, it doesn't mean that he's not confident or he's not. No, you're completely mistaken it. When I'm in the gym, I'm killing it. When I'm on that stage, I'm going to be aggressive as hell. I'm going to be killing it too. But just because this is the place I'm happy with doesn't mean that, oh, I'm not training or I'm not hungry or whatever. I'm like, yeah, well, no, don't mistake the two of them.
Now, obviously, with your physique right now, what are you planning? Are you sucking it down right now? You said you're suffering.
Oh, yes.
Back up, or?
He's been this back and forth. I mean, since 7 weeks out, it's been a struggle. And this is why I said, like, a lot of people have been asking, oh, what you weigh now? What you weigh now? I was like, look, I don't know my weight. I haven't checked this since we were 10 weeks out. We don't have a clue. The reason why is I know my peak flow falls. I know what it's always been in the past. The numbers has always been what has just followed me in the past. It's like, you look at your weight and go, okay, right, I'm this in the off season. Okay, I want to be roughly this on stage. You might not be sure, but you have that number in the back of your head. Then you start prepping. And then the number starts going down or not going down, whatever. And what happens is, if you get to that number too soon and you're not in shape, self-sabotage starts taking place. You say, oh, but I don't want to be small. I'm going to be too small. And then you start self-sabotaging. You don't really want to push deeper because you're not in condition yet. Same likewise, the other way around, you might be like, okay, you're coming down in weight, your weight is not coming down fast enough, and you're still holding on. You start being pissed off because you're thinking, okay, this diet isn't working. Why am I not losing fast enough? So it does play with your mind a lot. So instead, I'll just, last 2-3 preps we did, Mrs. like, okay, she takes the battery out of the scales in the house and go, yeah, all right, let's get on now. And it forces us to go by look. And I would literally go down. I have no idea what my weight is. I have no idea what it is. And then what we do is literally the day or so, the few days before the Olympia, I would literally close my eyes, stand on the scale. She would take a picture or video of it. And she doesn't tell me until after the show. And then we'll be like, okay, that's what you weighed the last show. Okay, let's see if we can beat it next time. And that's how it works.
That's how mentally stable bodybuilders are.
But this is the truth, because we could play actor, but this is how people think that it's all just so clean sailing. It is definitely not. No. Look, the more you're aware of your flaws and you're aware of things that you don't do, your faults, the quicker you can realize, okay, yeah, I know this is my fault. This is my fault. The quicker you can start sorting out, doing things to make yourself better and overcome them. I know full well that for a long time, where I was always a skinny kid growing up, and then I started bodybuilding. I was obsessed, never big enough, never big enough, never big enough. And that still sticks with me. Even now that you're massive and everything, it will still stick with you. So when you're then coming into shows, your obsession with size is still behind your mind. You can't get away from it. So what happens is then you might not intentionally know it, but all of a sudden you start self-sabotaging yourself. You're not getting in condition enough because you're holding on to the idea that you want to be big. And then you show up on stage and you're like, oh, he's still about 10 pounds off. He's still about this pounds off. He's still not quite there yet. Because this is what happens. But if you all of a sudden have the strength to say, okay, right, I know that's my fault. I want to take that completely out of the equation now. You force me now to have to go by what really you get judged by. The way the judges look at you. They look at you, they don't care about your number. They look at you when you physically and go, okay, right, is he in shape or is he not? Now you're forced to actually now be brought down to that position. So that's the way I know I've always looked at it in that sense of, okay, that's how we work with it.
And to know your faults like that, it's very smart. Like it's the equivalency of like going back to what you said a little bit earlier is like taking the batteries out of a scale and saying, let's go.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous, but the thing is like, it's like someone who's overweight or prepping as well.
Yeah.
Taking all the chocolate out of a pantry and out of a fridge.
Yep.
So it's not there. That's my weakness.
Oh yeah. We do that too. Like honestly, at home, we don't have any food I can't eat in the house at all. Like nothing. Like literally, we have my set meals already measured out, and that's all.
So do you both prep at the same time, pretty much?
Yep. So literally, that's all. Literally, that's all we have. Like, and I remember because there's been a few occasions this prep where I woke up in the middle of the night completely starving, and like 2 a.m. and I'm in the kitchen. I'm like, no, I can't sleep. I'm hungry. I need something, and I'm raiding the cupboards and opening everything, like, man, trying to find something to eat, and there's like absolutely nothing there. And you're sitting there going, this is bullshit. What the hell? Like, what? Not even a rice cake, no nothing. I'm like, man.
The only thing that gets me through the hunger, I started doing it my last prep. I just started drinking copious amounts of hot tea between meals.
Oh, what do you call it? Green tea. Like something like, what the hell? He'd be like, yeah, I'm just drinking this green tea with water. Yeah, that would just make me feel like at least I'm doing something, Yeah. And you just start doing all these things to just keep you sane and keep you feeling like, okay, it's okay. You're getting through this. You're getting through this. So yeah, man, prep has definitely been challenging, man. It has been serious because I know most guys be like, oh, yeah, it's been a great prep. Yeah, it's been perfect, all that. In terms of progression, it's been absolutely flawless. In terms of struggle and mental battles, it's been a freaking minefield, like, to say the least. And I'm not even going to try to water it down and say, yeah, we've been all right. No, it's been a freaking minefield. And, but, this is it, man. Pressure not the best pipe. So, make diamonds. So what else could it be, And it's definitely been a lot of downs and they've been ups, but there've been a lot of downs this prep, and standing here now, 1 week, one hard week left to go, and then peak week, I'm smiling because I'm like, "Whoo, the end's in sight! Thank God." Well, I didn't think I was gonna make it through that one. Definitely. Them kind of prep where you think, yeah, those ones they break relationships, they end relationships. This was one of them preps. This was definitely like a hard prep, So honestly, I'm so happy I have such strong people around me because they really kept me on track this prep. They really made sure that, they kept me pushing and kept reminding me what this is for and how much this means to me and what my dream has always been for this. So, I got to say, man, I do have the best team around me.
Yeah. Do you believe now that you can win the Olympia at some point?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. And I think this, for me, the way I feel about it is just a matter of time. Because when I started working with Milos, it was always like, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe. But seeing what he teach me to be able to do with my physique, I never thought it was possible. And I always thought, man, wow. And seeing it now, and even in short time, the way we're able to progress so fast, I'm sitting back and going, you know what? Yeah, without a doubt.
Man, it's crazy because when I was looking, when you and Quentin and a bunch of other guys were competing against each other,
yeah,
I can't remember which year that was, maybe 2 years ago or so.
Yeah.
I was looking at you guys and I was saying, okay, in 5 years, it's going to be, Quentin up in that top 5, probably he'll probably be Mr. Olympia or second or third.
Yeah.
And then you have Samson, he'll probably be fourth or fifth or something like that.
Yeah.
You're realizing that way ahead of schedule in my mind. You're a little bit older than Quinn and stuff, but it's you've blown my mind, man, and how much you've improved and how much you've improved mentally as well. And obviously, I know what you're like in terms of prep and all that sort of stuff. And you're a guy you're an emotional guy. You're a guy that you put your emotion into your training, into your posing, into everything. So when it's on the line and things don't go that way, it obviously is going to emotionally affect you. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You weigh hard on your sleeves. It's cool, man. I love it.
Yeah, because like there's like obviously the whole idea of okay, you're a big strong guy, just suck it up and don't act like nothing fades and everything else. It's like it's all good and cute, but the thing is, whether you admit it or not, it's still happening inside you, and we know that, we see guys, they keep quiet, and then all of a sudden, absolutely nuts and crazy, and go, whoa, I didn't expect that from him. And go, yeah, because it's still the pain is still there, that torture, everything's still there. And the more I find, especially as I'm growing now, the more I'm able to talk about it and bring it to light and say, okay, yeah, this is a problem. Yeah, okay, I need to work at it. The better I'm finding I'm becoming for it. And, I learned that a lot from my partner, and she's told me to kind of like, look, don't just bottle it and be that guy. Don't do that, because it will break you inside. Like I said, in this prep, I'm quickly easy to say, yeah, it's been a freaking hard prep, because I know it's been a hard prep. I know for me to come here and say, oh yeah, it was all right, we did everything right. It's almost like you then give a false perception, to people. When one hand we're saying how hard bodybuilding is, but then when they ask us how was the prep, go, oh yeah, it was good, it all went smooth, it was fine. But you guys say bodybuilding is hardest sport in the world, but yet every single time you always say, oh, it's fine. No, show them the truth. Be transparent and say, yeah, man, I fought with my missus. I freaking broke this and I lost my shit a few times and I try to hold it together, but hell, I'm here. I made it. Open up and actually say, look, this is hard, and it's hard for a reason. And people think when you say it's hard, it's because of the hunger or it's because of the training. Those parts are easy, man. We can do that shit any day of the week. That's not struggle. The mental battle is what makes or break you. That's the part that truly defines you as a person. How do you handle that? So the more I find that I'm having to go through all those tough times and go through all that, the more I find that it builds me as a character. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know I could tolerate that, but wow, I got through that one. All right, what's the next battle?
And it does that for sure, because it obviously something I was listening to might have been David Goggins. I heard you say something as well before that not Les Brown, Eric Thomas talks about, diamonds. I'm sure you've seen that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
so many times myself lately, just because of stuff going on in my life, and dude, I've watched that shit over and over, and I just think whatever hard shit you're going through, it's callousing your mind. You know what I mean? It's making you better, it's making you stronger and stuff, and that's a good way of I suppose dealing with those hard things that you're going through, whether it's self-inflicted harm or if it's coming from somewhere else. Regardless, it's callousing your mind and making you stronger. And if you can conceptualize it in that way, then it makes the struggle so much easier, So, and I'd love to hear you say those sorts of things. And it's just, it's really cool to see, man. Like your development, not just as a bodybuilder, but as a human as well. It's cool.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I really appreciate that.
I love to see it, man. But before we wrap it up, I just want to get, I suppose, get a little bit of an insight on what Milos Sarcev is like.
Yeah,
man, I love.
You know what? I love Milos and I hate him.
I love listening to him.
Oh man, I love Milos and I hate his ass at the same time.
I imagine he's heard it. I imagine he's heard it. Shut the fuck up, man. Do the work.
Yeah, but Milos is awesome, man. Milos, honestly, hands down, the best coach I can ever ask for. You get coaches that they into bodybuilding, but coaches that love bodybuilding, like they're so enthusiastic about it that you can see him every time he speaks. That this guy doesn't just he watches bodybuilding, watches a show out here and there. He is completely devoted. He's completely into it, And Milos is gonna be where I'll be tired, I'll be exhausted, and I'll be like, oh man, I can't do this anymore. And his enthusiasm for everything he can see, he wakes you up and makes you feel enthusiastic about it. You go from how many more weeks? Oh yeah, let's go, let's do it. He has that effect in me, and and he's a madman. Yes, I said it. Tell him he's a madman because, you know, we sort of had a plan coming off our last show, and he goes, okay, right. He said, oh, I'm going to put 30 pounds on you this year. And I was like, yeah. How many times have you heard bodybuilders say that crap? Yeah, I grew 30 pounds. And you look at them and go, yeah, they look exactly the same as they did last time. No whip to do. And he said that to me, and I just thought, yeah, you know, it was all bluster. And then the off season started. And then he gave me his protocol. And I looked at him going, really? He's like, yeah, okay, let's go. And then we went through. And for me, in the off season, I've never gone over 310 pounds before. So when I got to 310 and I got to 320, it was so uncomfortable. It was so hard. I thought, you know what? This is it. I can't do this anymore. I can't take this. It's crazy. I'm just like, no, just follow the plan. Oh, okay. Then 325. Okay. At that point, I'm already thinking, okay, you know what? You can't make this up. It's just crazy. And you don't talk about 325 holding shitloads of water and fat. You talk about 325, your abs still showing, you know. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy, you know. And then we pushed him over to 330, and he's like, yeah, I told you I can do it. And at this point, dude, honestly, whatever you say, just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll just do it, because this is you're nuts, you know. So we were able to do that. And then when we're coming down in prep, and he goes, okay, I'm gonna really, really diet you down. I'm gonna push you, but relax, because you're not gonna lose muscle. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, come on, man, you know we're gonna lose a little bit. He goes, no, trust me, you're not gonna lose muscle. Just trust my. Like, okay, so you have been doing something silly, like right now, you know, you have like you do your 45 minutes cardio, and you have only 3 eggs for breakfast. And you then waiting combination, man. It's not. Then waiting 3 hours, 3 hours before you can have a carb meal, and you're literally sitting there just placidly rocking on the spot, thinking, "Oh God, I need food. And it's literally that psychotic, you know. And taking the fact that you didn't eat any carbs before you went go to bed, and you woke up to do cardio, and then you just sitting there with 3 eggs. And believe me, 3 eggs, it doesn't do anything to you when you're starving.
Dude, I eat double that now. Actually, I probably eat 5 now, but when I'm a little bit bigger, and I'm tiny right now.
Yeah, just imagine what 3 eggs. 3 eggs. You look at 3 eggs, and you can eat 3 eggs at 3 spoonfuls. It's not that a lot. And I'm like, dude, like this is starvation. This is like punishment. And he's like, don't worry, trust the process. We need to get you in shape. Don't worry, and you know, and you look at him going, okay, we're getting leaner, but we're not getting smaller. We're not losing muscle. And I'm thinking, look, I just brought my back up. I just brought my shoulders. I'm thinking, these are muscle groups I don't want to lose again. I just worked my ass off all season to get them. I don't want to. Yeah. He's like, trust me, you're going to keep them. And you're seeing that his approach and everything else, you're seeing it working. And you just have no words for it. You just think, well, he obviously knows what he's doing, because the evidence is right there. It's not a case of, well, the numbers say you see it, you know.
It's right in front of you.
You know, so like this weekend, we sat down there and we kind of looked back at our checking videos at Arnold the week before we flew out to Ohio for the Arnold. And we looked at it compared to it now. And I'm standing back, I'm going, this don't make no goddamn sense. In just 6 months? And I'm like, well, it's going to be a really interesting Olympia, that's for sure. You know,
yeah, there's definitely tissue added, man. I saw those photos, I think yesterday on your story or something.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. You know, and it's always like because honestly, just like every single person, I was skeptical. I was like, yeah, you know, he's probably going to lose lose most of it now. It's going to lose like a little bit. But we were able to hold on to a majority of that tissue coming down. And even now, because I remember, it was funny, because at the Arnold, I was walking out a Hostile 3XL t-shirt, the beginning of this offseason. I'm now a week or 2 out from the Olympia, and I can't fit into my train. I'm still riding 4XL. Huh. So, you know, when you kind of look at that, you go, okay, that's crazy. But this is one thing where I keep saying, like, we didn't want to focus on the size at all. We like, look, just keep starving yourself and keep pulling everything you possibly can out. So you're making sure that you can have all the size and go, but it don't mean shit if you're not shredded. So it's like, okay, so we literally have to force our attention to, like, look, forget that. Okay, let's see how much tighter we can keep getting you each week. And you know what? I am so excited to see this next week when we actually get on that stage, because I think, yeah, it's going to be a little bit shock for most people. Hell, it's a shock for me. Man.
I bet, bro. And I absolutely can't wait to see it. Obviously, you're going to go through the whole thing. You're going to have all the events with the Olympia, and I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
Milos will keep you prepared for it all, bro. And are you planning on training out there in the Dragon's Lair or anything
Oh
when you get out
yeah.
there?
Oh yeah. As soon as we fly there on the Monday the 12th. This is Milos saying, "Oh, you're doing the Ronnie Coleman thing." We land there at 7 p.m. after a 9 hours flight. I'm going straight from the airport to the gym to train legs. Nice.
Don't tear anything. Don't tear anything.
So yeah, so that is the plan. Dragon's Lair, Monday nights with jet lag, feeling exhausted after a 9 hours flight. And I go
You'll be running on
leg.
adrenaline, bro. That would be just like, you know,
Yeah.
flying to the Olympia, like flying into Vegas.
It definitely will be adrenaline because I don't know where else I'll be running on at that point. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Really.
That'll be worse energy wise, but man, you'll be on top of the world, and I cannot wait for this year's Mr. Olympia. And I keep forgetting it's what, a week and a half? Like
yeah, just a week and a half away. It's right around the corner. You know, it's definitely flying by. Definitely flying by.
I think it's almost a week and a half, literally, probably around to the minute, or a week and 3 or a week and 4 days.
Good point.
Exactly to right now. So it's not far at all, dude. We're looking at 10, 11 days, and you'll be on stage at the 2022 Mr. Olympia in Vegas against the best bodybuilders in the world, which is man, it's amazing because I've seen the whole journey, and it makes me so extraordinarily happy to see you in this position, man. And
thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate every moment of it.
Oh yes, definitely.
Man, I cannot wait to see it. But do you want to give out a shout out to Hostile and all your other sponsors?
Yes, I would like to give a shout out to Fuad and Hostile and the Hostile team. Obviously, without them, I wouldn't be able to do this. And I mean that literally won't be able to do this without them. Literally got me to the stage I am now. Coach Milos, always. My missus, she's had to put up with a lot from me this prep. And I want to say I'm sorry. And I'll be better next time, I promise. And yeah, man, and all the people that supported me, and all the people that, you know, I get a lot of message every day with a lot of support from all the fans out there. And I want to say, you know, I don't even like using the word fans. I like to use the word supporters because I believe in you guys that support me right from the get-go. And honestly, I couldn't be more grateful. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Love to see it. Cannot wait to see you on stage at the 2022 Mr. Olympia in just 10 or 11 days' time. All the coverage will be obviously on the Mr. Olympia page, where will be a live stream, but also I'll be doing some live watch parties as well, where we're going to run some ads in between it. So if anyone wants to sponsor that, hit me up, and obviously hit up Samson's sponsors and stuff as well. And the links to Samson's YouTube and Instagram and everything is in the description below. So you can click on those and follow Samson, support him for the 2022 Mr. Olympia. So that's it from myself, Xavier Wills, and my good friend and Mr. Olympia competitor, Samson Dauda. For me and him and Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.